So I just dropped off one of my friends. We were at the car shop, and we were just having a car conversation. Nice little car ride. And they were telling me, we were talking about character and stuff, but they were telling me that they thought I was or felt that I was a good person. And I told them on a fundamental level, you know, I guess with the basics of what you would think a good person is, I told them I felt that they were pretty decent people. And I guess I said that's probably why they're able to connect to me on a certain level. And so I looked at it from that standpoint. But I pushed them a little further because I wanted to understand what about me exactly that they feel deep within the core of them that makes me a good person or makes me trustworthy to them or to any of you or something. And it's that deep thing that we have in us, folks, that consciousness of who we really are. Not our names, not any of this governmental issue things or societal things that are going to be done away with. None of this stuff. I'm talking about who you are, who you always have been, and who you always will be. That has a resonation point. That characteristic of your soul. So I guess when we're talking about good people, we're talking about people who have a vibration. Because really in the conversation, we were laughing about the person at the shop, the clerk, had this scowl. And I keep talking about this scowl, y'all. And that's the telltale for who you want to know is hiding this demoniac energy. I like to use a lot of these movie references and stuff. And some of the more popular ones that I know you have seen. Because I've seen it. I'll use these to get you to, for an example. And if you remember in Men in Black, there was a scene where like the villain jumps into the guy in a pit or something. The guy goes out, he's living in some type of barnyard situation. He goes out with his shotgun and he's commandeered by this monster, right? And so, he goes back in the house and he goes to his wife or whoever, the lady there, and he requests her to pour him some sugar water. And she's pouring it. Y'all know that scene, and he keeps saying, put more sugar in it or something. But in the whole time, you in third person are watching this, you know clearly that there's something wrong with the guy, and you are waiting for the lady to address the fact that there's something wrong with this guy. Now, what you saw was a physical representation of his mutation. You saw his neck, twisted up. His spine was, jarred about. And he was crooked and bent up and everything. And he was trying to keep his composure. And that was the joke of the movie. But getting off the movie, this scowl, I'm trying to show you something physical you can look at. Just like the guy had a scowl in the movie when he was saying, pour me some water. He didn't look like his usual self. So when you want to look for a demoniac, you want to look for that type of person who has that disposition, that peculiar attitude that I always talk about. Many of you with good hearts go in these workspaces and you typically get along with the people who will go along with things, but then you have that one person and there's something wrong with that person. It doesn't matter what type of job you've done. I've studied this for many, many, many years, folks. I've worked many different jobs in my life. I can remember being a young man working a damn cleaning job or something. And I had that coworker who was so jealous of my ability just to do the job because I was there just to make a paycheck. And I guess I would clean or make it a little bit more tighter than they would. And they were jealous of that, folks. And it was psychological. It made no sense. If you really look at it on paper, it makes no sense. But these people are completely unreasonable. And this is that energy I'm talking about. So I would have this person on the shift prior to me. Before I got in there, every single day they would, if I recall, take this bubble cleaner and they would put it all over the lockers and all types of things, right? And I would sit there, and I was young, and I when you're young, you're finding your way in the world. Life is tough. Jobs are tough, folks. But I would sit there as a young man, and I would be stumped to the understanding or reasoning of this older person, this more mature person, who should be my older sibling or my parent or something working these jobs that I had to work in, and they would do things that were beneath me as a child, as a young man. Now, when you're 18, 19, you're pretty much a fucking kid, folks. If you're out in the world working a job, you're pretty much a kid. I've talked about these kids I met at the church programs and stuff, and all of the stuff that they went through in societal life that they still go through. Some of them are much older now, but they're more wiser, right? And understanding that this is a dog-eat-dog society. Why do you have to be a dog is what you don't question. Who's dogging you? You see, the squeeze. Many of you who are accepting this way of life, why? Because you're lazy to something, or you yourselves are demoniacs. You know that you're not capable of achieving this brighter situation or experiencing it. You've already made your covets. You've already taken the material things of this reality right now, which are nothing. And you've taken those things and coveted yourself with those things, and so now you're damned. And I told you, things like money and things that we can objectify or materialize, those things don't last, right? So what's the purpose of uplifting these things if they have no real value? And your soul always has value. So your soul is who you are, that person I'm talking about. You, the conscious you, who will always be you. Now on a bigger level, who's holding the battery pack of that you that gives you the force of material existence to look? Let's take your body away. Let's just use your eyes as your vessel. Your eyes are what you see. That is connected to your consciousness, the window to your soul. You've heard this. You guys say these things, but you don't really understand what they really mean. So you look at these demoniacs and they have a scowl, and in that particular situation, I will have that person every day at work sabotage the work. I told you this in many videos. I will watch them break brooms and do all types of crazy things. Hide the cleaner. We're just cleaning a fucking building or something. And so, some of the better jobs I gained from trying to get away from other places, only to experience and realize the higher I went up, the more insane it got, folks. Even in supervisory positions, I can think about all of the times that I looked at my higher-ups when I was in a supervisory position and I questioned the fucking foolishness or their lack of reason in a situation where I saw clearly that they were trying to target someone, and maybe I didn't say anything about it, but I would do my job in ways that wouldn't play into the game, and I just wasn't a viable option to fit into their bullshit. And this went on and on until it got to a point where I didn't even want to work in supervisory jobs, because I realized in this chain of narcissism, those are the top predators, folks. Those are the master planners, and you're going to have to be a mushhead in order to deal with these people. Look at your current supervisors or co-managers and stuff. There's always some psychological problem. But on every job, I would get these situations where someone would feel there was a competition unnecessarily for no reason. There wasn't a competition, but it was in their heads. A lot of those people are commandeered on a level where they don't know why they're doing what they're doing, and those are the clueless people. But then you have the actual demoniacs people, who in the bigger fight is what I'm really addressing. The people who consciously and purposely get these jobs to suppress you and hurt you and harm you by taking away your happiness. When we talk about squeezing the happiness out of someone, what's really doing that to us, right? If it's about a relationship, if that woman wants more and you can't give her more, whatever these things are, isn't that about a societal thing? Isn't it about greater society creating a dynamic that makes you want to go out and do the unnecessary things? Do you get what I'm saying, folks? A lot of you are waking up, and I'm so thankful to the Most High and blessed to understand and see how this thing is progressing. There's going to be a lot of physical things happening because you guys don't respect anything other than what's physically happening, right? And, nothing I said to you was an idol. It wasn't idle threatening or anything. It was something that you guys know about. That's the whole irony or ironic thing about bad behavior in general of people. You know, I was in the store the other day and I was talking to someone and in line, and they didn't reason what I was saying, which shows me that many of you have been drinking this Kool-Aid and you're in the Matrix. But there were some children in the store with their parent, and they were running around, and there was like this snack bin. They had like different snacks I guess you could buy for various prices and stuff, like the combo things or something, or M&Ms or whatever. They had little things like that. And this was a store, folks. And, you know, it's right by the counter. And I watched the clerk uncomfortably and nervously want to address the children who kept reaching in the thing, and some of them were stealing the candy right in front of their parent. Their parent was letting them do it. And then they were playing with the candy. So, like, just imagine some snotty-nosed child. You're seeing snot boogers in their nose all over their hands. And they're going through each of the bin, and they're taking each of the bags of M&Ms and they're playing with them to the point where the bags are completely dented and crumpled, and all of the objects in the case, all of the items or materials are damaged to the point where they look like they've been ran through. Now, if this is a store and you wanted a snack, you would have to get you a bag of M&Ms with boogers on it or something. And I'm trying to show you that that's not even reasonable. To be a parent in the store and see your children doing that, and to know that they could steal these things or watch them steal, and that know that you will have to be accountable, it shows your mental reasoning. So what's happening in society is people who have low mental reasoning are procreating. And they're passing on low value systems because they have low vibration. Do y'all get what I'm saying now? So you even have children who do things that are not right. There's a certain level of being right just anywhere, even if I don't appreciate the merchants on a certain level. Still though, folks, there's a certain reasonable level of behavior that one should show in public, right? To not harm and reasonably not disenfranchise another person. And when you're a narcissist, you don't care about the comforts of other people. So if you're looking for that narcissist, maybe it's not the scowl, maybe it's just their actions, maybe it's the parent who goes in the store and let their children put boogers all over the products that you're trying to buy. So you got to wipe down a carton of milk because some child, little Timmy, wanted to take the top off and drink out of the milk in the store, and mommy couldn't get Timmy to stop. You see how dysfunctional society has gotten, folks. On so many levels, folks. Marvel's dry. But I mean, you know, really, I talked to it was a person in line with me, and I pointed it out, and they had like they shrugged their shoulders like, so, and that's what the average one of you do, right? Until that child breaks your window, or till that child comes in on your property and does something, or messes up with something, or your car or something, any of these things. Then all of a sudden you see the dysfunctional behavior. Then you're talking about what mom or dad should have done or not done. Then we take it on a psychological level. Why is mom or dad not doing that? Maybe mom or dad are actually not fucking capable of doing such a thing. They were capable of having the sex to make the children. But mentally, they were children themselves. This is what I'm trying to show you on so many levels. Society is damned on many levels. It's not just about doctrine, folks. The doctrine, you should be focusing on the best of what you can get out of the doctrines to understand your behavior. It's about your behavior, folks. Everything is about your behavior. See, behavior is the key to why all of this is happening. It's the key to reckoning. Behavior is the key to reckoning. Bad behavior is the key to reckoning. You know, the best and worst of you don't understand this on that level. And if you do understand it, it's on a level that services you. The best of you like your doctrines to talk about what you know about the doctrines, the paper aspects or something. Some of you are actually pimping these doctrines to get money from people. And that's a whole nother entirely different example of how you're doing wrong. You're disenfranchising or misleading people. And that's the whole point, right? So, you know, I'm not going to talk too much longer, but I you know, when the person was saying that, hey, you're a good person, And I wanted to know what makes me a good person. It's my actions. It's how I'm walking, right? And you guys get caught up on if I use curse words and that. That's fucking foolishness, right? You know, I like to make this joke. Do you speak Heavenese? You don't, right? So you realize that language is just something that breaks down into culture and people and stuff. Societies, right? Communication, that's all that is. On higher levels is about your heart, and that is consciousness, folks. I want you guys to grab that. I'm a good person because, yeah, I may talk shit to the worst of you and want the worst for the worst of you. Honestly, you deserve these things. You have spent your whole existence suppressing and harming other people without, you know, care to your callousness to how they felt about anything. And it's time for it to stop, folks. You know, and because of your material mics that you have gained, the Most High has to get involved in this and break teeth and show you who's in charge and show you why you're going to be punished. It's in your books. Go look. You can find some you know, example of this in your books. You know, we'll be talking soon. I love bad behavior, folks. You know. But I love love because you guys don't have love. You don't understand what that means. You don't understand how to be it or embody it. I'm sorry. And that's the tragedy, you know. But you read about this tragedy and known it was coming. And the worst of you want to stick your heads in the sand and pretend, but pretending can only go but so far, right? You're going to reckon with reality. Next video.